All right, so today we're diving into something I bet you'd never guess. Milk reception operators.
Milk reception operator.
Yeah, milk reception operators, I know, I know. Not exactly the most glamorous sounding job title, right?
Right, not exactly superheroes at first glance.
Exactly. But that's what makes this so interesting. See, we've been digging into these RoleCatcher guides, and let me tell you, these milk reception operators, they're like the unsung heroes of the entire dairy industry.
Unsung heroes, huh? I like that. What's got you so intrigued?
Well, it's easy to think, oh, milk, right, it just magically appears on supermarket shelves. But these guides open my eyes to the whole process, and trust me, these milk reception operators, they play a way more crucial role than most people realize.
More than meets the eye, huh?
Totally.
Yeah.
We're talking about the very foundation of our dairy supply chain here.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it makes you think. It's not just milk. It's the starting point for a whole bunch of stuff. We love cheese, yogurt, ice cream, you name it.
Exactly. And these milk reception operators, they're the first ones to get their hands on that raw milk, making sure it's up to snuff before it even gets close to a processing plant.
So they're like the gatekeepers of good milk.
That's a great way to put it. The guide really emphasizes how much responsibility rests on these operators. It's not as simple as just, unloading milk trucks.
Okay, so spill the beans. What do they actually do? Walk me through a typical day in the life of a milk reception operator.
All right, picture this. A huge milk tanker truck pulls up to the dairy factory.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
This milk reception operator, they're the ones who swing into action, making sure that milk is unloaded safely and properly.
Sounds straightforward enough.
But here's where it gets interesting. They're not just hooking up hoses and calling it a day. These guys and gals are operating pumps, valves, and get this, even sophisticated testing equipment to make sure the milk meets all the necessary standards.
So it's a lot more technical than it sounds.
Way more. They're like milk quality control inspectors or something.
Yeah, milk quality control inspectors. Now that has a nice ring to it. What kind of stuff are they checking for?
They're on the lookout for any signs of contamination, making sure the temperature's just right, even analyzing the composition of the milk itself. The guide goes into some serious detail about how they use all this specialized equipment.
All right, now you're speaking my language. I'm all about the nitty-gritty. Give me the details. What kind of high-tech gadgets are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, there's something called a Milk-O-Scan. Ever heard of it?
A Milk-O-Scan. Rings a bell, but I'm not entirely sure. Refresh my memory.
It's this super precise instrument, like something out of a sci-fi movie, that analyzes the fat and protein content of the milk.
No way. How long does that take?
We're talking seconds.
Seriously, technology is something else.
Right. And then you've got your plate coolers. These things rapidly cool the milk down to prevent any nasty bacteria from growing. They're also working with flow meters, separators, the list goes on.
Wow, who knew milk reception was so high-tech? It's like a whole hidden world of dairy wizardry going on behind the scenes.
Tell me about it. And the best part is, it's not just about pushing buttons and pulling levers. The guide really stresses how milk reception operators need a deep understanding of things like sanitation practices and all those industry quality standards. This is food safety we're talking about, so even the tiniest mistake can have huge consequences.
You're really driving home the point that this is way more demanding than it seems at first glance.
Right. Milk reception operator almost feels like an understatement for what these folks actually do. They're like the guardians of good milk, making sure what ends up in our cereal bowls is the real deal.
I'm starting to think milk reception operator doesn't quite do them justice. They sound more like dairy defenders or custodians of the cream or something.
I like what you did there. Right, seriously, you've got a point. These are the unsung heroes of the dairy aisle, working tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure the quality and safety of one of the most basic staple foods we have. And from what we've learned so far, it seems like a much more demanding and crucial role than most people probably realize.
Absolutely. And to think, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm already hooked on this deep dive. What else have you uncovered about these milk reception operators?
Okay, so we've established milk reception operators are like the gatekeepers, the guardians of good milk, working with some really cool tech to make sure everything's up to par.
Totally.
But what about climbing the ladder in this field? Could you go from, say, entry-level milk reception operator to, like, I don't know, supreme dairy overlord?
Supreme dairy overlords. I love it. While that specific title might be a long shot, this RoleCatcher guide, it actually lays out a pretty clear path for moving up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you start with the basics, right?
Yeah.
Got to get comfortable with all that equipment we were just talking about.
Right.
But then as you gain experience, you can move into more senior roles, more responsibility, and all that.
Okay, so what does that look like day to day? What would a seasoned milk reception operator be doing differently?
Okay, imagine this. You've been on the front lines for a while,
Yeah.
handling the milk as it comes in, the process inside and out.
Okay, I'm with you.
Who better to supervise a team of operators, right? Or train new hires,
Makes sense.
even help bring in new technologies, make things more efficient. The guide even mentions some senior operators. They shift into quality assurance.
Oh, wow. So they use all that hands-on experience to make sure the whole operation's running smoothly?
Exactly. They become the milk maestros.
I like it. So there's definitely room to grow within the role, but speaking of growth, the guide also mentions something about technology kind of shaking things up for milk reception operators. What's the deal with that?
It's true. Just like everything these days, technology is changing so fast, and the dairy industry is no exception.
Right.
And milk reception operators, they got to adapt. You got to be tech savvy to really thrive, you know?
Yeah, totally.
It's not just about operating machines anymore. These days, they're becoming data analysts, troubleshooters, even tech innovators in their own way.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. This is what makes these deep dives so fun, uncovering these little unexpected connections. So what kind of tech are we talking about? Like, is it all automated now? Are there robots running around these milk processing plants?
We're not at the robot uprising stage just yet, but things are getting pretty high-tech. The guide specifically talks about these automated sensors. They can constantly monitor the milk for, any little change in quality or temperature.
Oh, wow.
And some factories are even using AI. Can you believe that? AI-powered systems to really optimize the entire milk reception process.
Okay, so instead of having to manually check everything, these operators can rely on some seriously sophisticated technology to help them do their jobs even better.
Exactly. Frees them up to focus on more important things, like troubleshooting any technical problems that come up, analyzing all that data to make things more efficient.
Right, right.
Maybe even working with engineers to come up with new and improved technologies.
That's really interesting. So it's not about replacing human workers with robots. It's more like using technology to make them even better at what they do.
Yeah.
But with all these advancements, it seems like finding skilled milk reception operators, people who are comfortable with all this tech, it's got to be a top priority for these dairy companies, huh?
100%. And that's where our friend RoleCatcher comes in.
Yeah.
Not just as a platform for job seekers, but as a crazy valuable tool for these companies who are trying to attract top talent in the dairy industry.
Right.
Remember that reverse matching system we talked about earlier?
You mean where employers can actually find potential candidates based on their skills and experience instead of the other way around?
That's the one. For dairy companies, this means they can use RoleCatcher to target people who have the specific technical skills they need.
Okay.
Experience with that super specific equipment, even those who are comfortable, working in a fast-paced, high-tech environment. It's like a specialized recruitment tool just for the dairy industry.
Yeah, it's like having a direct line to the milk whisperers, the people who really get it.
Exactly. And for someone just starting out, fresh out of school, maybe a food science program or something, RoleCatcher. It's a gold mine. They've got these career guides specifically for roles like, you guessed it, milk reception operator.
Nice.
They break it all down, the skills you need, the education, potential career paths, even salary stuff.
That's super helpful, especially when you're just starting out trying to navigate that whole job market maze.
Totally.
But okay, let's zoom out for a second. We've talked a lot about the technical side of things, but what about the bigger picture? How does all this impact everyday folks like us, the milk drinkers of the world?
I'm glad you asked because it gets to the heart of why this whole thing matters. Think about it. We just assume, right? We go to the store, we grab a carton of milk, we expect it to be safe, fresh, good to go.
It's easy to take that for granted.
Right. But there's a ton of work going on behind the scenes to make that happen.
Yeah.
And milk reception operators, they're the front line, making sure that raw milk, those raw materials, they're top notch.
So they're like the unsung heroes of public health in a way.
Exactly. They play a vital role in making sure we can trust what we're eating, what we're giving our families.
That's a really good point, and something I think a lot of people probably don't even realize.
For sure. And as technology keeps evolving, their job, it's only going to get more important. Remember those AI systems we were talking about?
Yeah.
Imagine a world where milk reception operators, they're using real-time data to track the quality of milk from individual farms, optimizing delivery routes, even predicting problems before they happen.
It's like taking all those food safety documentaries we've seen and turning them into a real-life high-tech solution.
Exactly. It's a really exciting time to be in this field. It's this cool mix of like traditional food science and cutting-edge
It
technology.
sounds like a career with a bright future.
Definitely.
Who knew we'd be saying that about milk reception operators when we started this deep dive?
It's funny how these things work out. Sometimes the most unexpected topics lead to the most interesting discoveries.
I couldn't agree more. Well, on that note, I think we've successfully explored the surprisingly complex and crucial world of milk reception operators.
We have.
We've talked about their importance in the dairy supply chain, the cool technology they use, and how they're going to be shaping the future of the industry.
And how they help ensure we have safe, delicious dairy products.
Absolutely. So next time you're like enjoying a glass of milk or a grilled cheese or something, maybe take a second to think about those milk reception operators working hard behind the scenes.
The unsung heroes of the dairy aisle.
They might not wear capes, but they're pretty darn important. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.